Come one, come all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time again for the number one podcast in the renewable energy industry. I'm Josh Brum, Energy Storage Manager here at Sologent and host of the Beyond Emissions podcast, right here at the Beyond Emissions home, or many places we call home, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and also at the Sologent YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment down below. What are we doing here in this business? Are we just, having a great business, making money? Yes, we are. The green business is a profitable business, and we're grateful to be in this business. But what makes it even greater than the success we all enjoy helping others? Well, we're making a difference in our environment. There is energy that does not need to be dug out of the ground, that took millions of years to get there, to be burned one time. There's energy that actually can produce day in, day out with that gigantic thing in the sky called the sun. Also wind, hydro, and lots of other sources. But creating a world where we're getting our energy derived from clean sources. And of course, we want to be your number one clean energy provider here at Sologent. So thankful that you join us every single week to take part in this mission. When you're in the field, when you're installing, when you're working with contractors, with customers, it makes a difference. We're all changing the direction that this earth was headed. I always tell the story of when my dad took me camping up in the mountains, and we stopped off and we looked down into the valley, San Joaquin Valley, and couldn't even see the valley floor. The pollution was so bad. It was horrible. And my dad, he puts his hand on my shoulder and goes, "Son," a little tear in his eye, and he goes, "Son, I wish you could do something about that someday." And that's exactly what you and I and all of us are doing every single day. Thanks again for tuning in. Beyond Emissions podcast, brought to you by Sologent, the largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. We're so thankful that you partake in this mission. We have an amazing show for you today. A friend of mine I met at the CALSA dinner, the annual CALSA dinner, CALSSA, California Solar Storage Association. Go to calssa.org today /join. Join CALSA, especially if you're in this business, because they are on the front lines, in front of our legislature, in front of the Public Utilities Commission, in front of the utilities, working hard to make sure that we have the best representation in the laws that govern this industry and regulations, etc. And they're fighting for you. The solar tax, the rooftop solar tax, it was going to happen until CALSA got in the way. So thank you so much, our friends at CALSA. Again, calssa.org /join, and become a member today. I highly recommend it. Met this person at the CALSA dinner, enjoyed her company along with our friends at Fortress Power as well, and Solarc, all at the table. Really had a great time. Met my friend Catherine Von Berg, former CEO and founder. Now she's participating and being a philanthropist. I can't even say that right. But she's so amazing. Catherine Von Berg, met with her at the CALSA dinner. And Renee Donaldson, she was sitting at the table, CEO of EcoDirect. I'm like, Renee, I've got to get you on as a guest of the Beyond Emissions podcast. By the way, folks, go to ecodirect.com, find out more. A phenomenal company, founded in 2009. Their mission is to facilitate the transition to accessible and sustainable energy for everyone. And that's exactly what we're doing, creating a world that is beyond emissions. So folks, what does beyond emissions mean for you? Welcome back again to the Beyond Emissions podcast, listeners. Our guest today, Renee Donaldson, CEO of EcoDirect. Renee, welcome to the show. It's great to see you again. And please tell our listeners from your heart, what does a world that is beyond emissions mean for you? Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate you having me on, and it was great meeting with you and everyone else at the CALSA event a week and a half ago now. It was great. Some of the best people in our industry were there. So it was an amazing event. And for myself, both personally and professionally, really, to your question, what the world look like beyond emissions, it's having independent power and being able to harness the power from the sun and use it to power your life, whatever that means for your business, your home, and to do that as sustainably as possible without having to pay an arm and a leg for that power. And for those of you who may not know me, again, Renee Donaldson, CEO of EcoDirect, and I've been working in solar now since 2011. And there's been quite a few changes that have happened within our industry since that time and continue to evolve and change as we move forward. So one of the biggest parts and fundamental aspects to EcoDirect is education. And so making sure that our installers know how to install the systems, of course, but also some of the different solutions that are available. Because as we've found, and I'm sure many of you will agree, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution. And there's a lot of options out there. So with all of the numerous different manufacturers that you can pick for both the inverter, the battery storage, how can you filter through that level of detail and really make sure that you're promoting the safe and best solutions for your customer base? And that's one of the main core components of our company.
And some of the advertisers out there, you're right, homeowners. It's not that they don't want to know. It's they're inundated with commercials that show a suitcase-sized system powering an entire home. Wow, the whole house is being powered. No, it's not. There's some caveats there. It's probably just the lights and only for a few hours for that system in that commercial. But there's kind of over-promising and under-delivering happening a lot of times. And educating the homeowner. That I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and installer as well, but thinking about that homeowner especially who doesn't realize there is no one size fits all magic pill. Like you just mentioned, there is no one size fits all solution. It's really all about customization, right, Renee?
I would say customization and also just being able to, where do you look to find that information? And so from the homeowner's perspective, they do see all of these different systems, and generally they're not an expert in solar. That's our job, right? And so making sure that they're having their realistic expectations and they're able to vocalize that to their installation company is a big step in the right direction. And then, of course, making sure that the installers themselves are really comfortable and understand how the system operates, as well as some of the code requirements on where to place it, and a number of different other factors that really need to be pulled together to have a very successful business in this current ESS world.
ESS, Energy Storage Systems. I love it. EcoDirect CEO Renee Donaldson here at the Beyond Emissions podcast, brought to you by Solagent, largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. We're so thankful we do business with you at EcoDirect. We're so thankful that you choose Solagent. Thank you very much, Renee. And of course, thank you so much for being a leader in this industry, especially, previously in this industry, it's been very male dominated. And to see, I talked about my friend Catherine Von Berg, founder of Simplify Power. Such a powerful, strong woman. And so many women are getting into this business, right, as leaders?
They are. It's very exciting to see. And, when I first started in solar, it wasn't uncommon for me to be one of, sometimes the only woman or one of just a few at even some of the early, SPI, as it was called back in the day, conferences. And now there's quite a few more women and still a lot more joining our industry. So it's very exciting to see.
Absolutely. And we need more engineers as well. Math, science, engineering kids who are listening right now, I oftentimes was captured to whatever my dad was listening to driving around in his vehicle. If you happen to be driving around in your vehicle, you're listening to the Beyond Emissions podcast, this is an inspirational moment, especially if you got your daughters or granddaughters in the car. If you're listening, kids, we need more engineers. We need more scientists. Get into math, get into science, entrepreneurship. It's all there for the taking. And we're excited. This opportunity that renewable energy offers is not limited to one sector. There are so many participants, so many different players making a big difference in our world. I'm so thankful that you're on the program today sharing that. What an inspiration that is. That's phenomenal. Renee, curious, how did you get your start? You said you started back in 2011, correct? How did you get your start?
I did. I love my story of how I got into solar because I really wasn't looking for solar, like photovoltaics necessarily. I was really interested in water treatment. And my now partner and founder of EcoDirect, Thomas Baxter, he found my resume on my college board website at the time and said, "Hey, what do you think about a job working in solar sales?" And I didn't know anything about solar at the time, and but I was really interested. So, contrary to some trepidation, with going with a company that was just pretty new at the time, I jumped in feet first, and I loved it. So we started in primarily battery-based systems, so a lot of off-grid, telecom, small independent homes, and even Department of Transportation. And then as we grew and learned and developed our sales team, which is what I was brought on to do, and we were successful at. We started doing more grid tie systems, and then, of course, we saw the blending of battery and utility power systems from around 2014, 2015. But it didn't quite take off until really 2018 as far as like the amount of integrated energy storage systems that we see today. So it's been a journey, but it's been a really fun and enjoyable one.
When I first started in the battery business in 2006, kind of like you, I had no knowledge of batteries or solar. I was a salesperson and was a radio DJ broadcaster since 1996. And I never thought in a million years I'd get into batteries. And I took an opportunity, and I'm glad that I did, because I ended up finding another passion I care a lot about. And I know you care a lot about and have a passion as well. That's such a great story. Phenomenal. But when I started, you're absolutely correct. Batteries were synonymous with off-grid. No grid, primarily off-grid, mostly lead acid at the time. What a quick transition. Folks asked me, is battery technology going to take a big jump? And I don't know at the time. It was going kind of slow. And then fast forward, not even a decade, boom, 2016. Wow, it's starting to pick back up. And here we are, 2023 going into 2024. And especially under NEM 3 in California, you cannot get by without a battery. You can't. So grid tie, off grid, very, very beginning, it was mainly off grid. And if you had a battery, it was all about just battery backup. If the grid goes down, you have a lot of outages in your area, maybe you want to have battery backup. Now the battery backup is, kind of the cherry on top, if you will, because folks are able to use their batteries in virtual power plant programs, net metering, lots of different ways, self-consumption instead of selling back under NEM 3 for pennies on the dollar, the ability to get an ROI for solar. The battery is so much more important than just battery backup these days, right, Renee?
It is. And so a lot of the times it's, most people, unless you're in some areas that do experience frequent power outages, most people, the idea of having a battery is synonymous with backup power. Just that's what people tend to think of, like right off the bat. But really, batteries are operating with a much higher intent. So it's offsetting that peak demand charges or for the time of use during the nighttime hours when the power draw tends to be higher and you're paying more per kilowatt hour. So it is the cherry on top because most of the time the core function of these storage systems that are integrated is to simply offset the consumption from the utility grid. So that excess power that you may have pushed back to the utility during the day now just recharges your battery. So at night, you can draw from it instead of the utility grid. Maybe even blend the power. So your battery bank doesn't have to be overly sized, but it's, again, just for the majority of the year, ideally, you're able to significantly offset that consumption, which in turn equates to some pretty high dollar values depending on what tier you're in and where you are in California.
Amen. Amen, sister. I love it. Hallelujah. She's preaching, folks, and she's preaching the truth about what's happening. You're absolutely correct. There's a way to blend that power. I love it,
It makes a huge difference, and for I myself, and even everyone that was at the CALSA event, and really everyone that's in our industry, most of us really do care about how these systems are going in and how people are using it, and that's the biggest, really the fuel, kind of pun intended, but that's really making this take off is that everyone is really focused on making sure that the expectations are met or exceeded, and that we're all proceeding in the right direction together.
Do you think that, tell us, actually, not do you think, what do you think in regards to the direction that we're headed? Obviously, NEM 3 has passed, but I think you mentioned off the line, and maybe talk a little bit about that. Fire safety, different codes, regulations, different things coming down the pike. I know CALSA is really going against a lot of things that could be harmful to the industry that sometimes the Public Utility Commission will bring on. Like, for example, they stopped the solar tax, the rooftop solar tax. And again, I don't think it's, on purpose to be a detriment to the public. Sometimes it's well-intentioned, but sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions in a sense. Sometimes good intentions need to be paired with logic and truth. And the whole picture. And I think CALSA brings that to the table, and stopping that solar tax and coming up, there's different things coming down the pike, charging people a flat fee based on what their income level is, et cetera. Other things that could kind of upset the apple cart in a sense. And CALSA is not just an organization. It's a group of companies and individuals who are all under that banner CALSA. And without CALSA, some of those things that are detrimental could end up, even with good intentions, could end up happening. What's coming down the pike? What do we have to be aware of or beware of? I mean, what are your thoughts, Renee?
Well, the transition into NEM 3.0 made a lot of sense to me in a way, and so I'm not excited to see that it's kind of stopped a lot of these systems from going in, but to me it was a necessary part of what needed to happen. As more consumption and more demand to our utility grid continued to go upwards, especially with EV cars coming to market, and just technology really being a much more, it's a growing part of our lives, of everyone, including businesses, homeowners alike. And it makes sense. Produce your own power, store it when you need it, and that's how you can compartmentalize these types of systems. And overall, the cost is significantly less than running, transmission lines thousands of miles potentially away to where the actual power needs to go. So I think that the intent from the CPUC and the rollout was actually what was needed. The part that the perfect storm really is that the interest rates, unfortunately, just went sky high. And so batteries being more expensive made it harder for the average person to afford. And even putting part one and part two can sometimes be a little bit more ambiguous and can be more streamlined, but that's where the educational part comes in. But ultimately, the utilities having and needing to put in these large-scale systems themselves to support the increased demand needed to get the money from somewhere. And so as energy consumers, we are, in a sense, paying for that power. And so when we need it, it's there, and the utility is providing that service. Again, I I am all for solar storage and independent systems. So rooftop solar is absolutely what we need. We don't need these huge systems in the middle of nowhere in the desert and then sending power all the way back. We need to have people being able to do it on their own. And it's right now the interest rates are one of the biggest prohibitors to that excelling in our market.
It almost sounds like we need some sort of a federal national program that, basically co-signs, if you will, for homeowners or those with credit and good standing or what have you, to basically co-sign for every American, in a sense, who wants to get storage. I know I'm just dreaming up something that doesn't even exist yet, but it crossed my mind. Like, to have a national program where everybody has a co-signer that's Uncle Sam, so that everybody can get a low interest rate for storage specifically or something of that nature. I don't know, it may be pie in the sky, but what are your thoughts?
I don't know about that one. It would be great if they do, and hopefully we'll see interest rates come down maybe towards this time next year. But in the meantime, you can shift the sizing of your system. So a lot of our customers, as an example, it's not uncommon for them to do a part 1 and part 2 of their system. Part 1 would essentially be getting a moderate PV system with a decent-sized battery bank, and it could be that they need actually double that capacity on the battery side, for example, but they're able to get started, and so you're able to get your permits done, the installation complete, and they understand that down the road, once they accumulate some of the savings and once they have the additional funds, they can expand their battery bank at that point. So instead of trying to go for the entire system right off the bat, the installation cost, the equipment cost, it does make sense to separate it in some instances, and that's where when you're talking with a solar designer or a solar installation company, you can ask them those questions. And what would it take to be pulled out of this top tier? What do I really need to do to make sure I'm not paying upwards of 40 cents or 50 cents a kilowatt hour between these peak times during the night? And sizing it for that, it's again, not going to cover 100% of their bill, but it will cover enough that it still makes a lot of financial sense to move forward.
Renee Donaldson, CEO, EcoDirect, here at the Beyond Emissions podcast, brought to you by Sologent. Thank you so much for being here, Renee. We appreciate your time today. Thank you. What red flags should homeowners be looking for as it pertains to sales? Hello, would you like to buy solar? Everyone's out there working, knocking on doors, hitting the pavement. And some companies, a lot, are totally honest and upfront, but some people are just trying to move the sales and not necessarily sizing and designing what's right for the homeowner. What red flags should people be looking for? What should homeowners be looking for as they're talking to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different companies and trying to make that decision, in your opinion?
That's a great question. So they should know their energy usage, and not just by taking a look at the bill and seeing how much they pay every month or on average per month, but really when is their peak time of use period, and how much power are they using between those times of the day, and what's their standard consumption. And by really understanding that from an owner's perspective, a homeowner, then they're going to be able to take a look at this without needing to have a really in-depth understanding of battery systems in general. They can really take a look at the proposed system and then match it up. Does this make sense based on my electrical usage? You can also reference the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So it's NREL.gov, has a lot of information that even homeowners without a very strong technical background will really be able to understand as far as their overall sizing. PG&E also offers a sizing tool that homeowners can use, that they can take a look at their actual consumption and then plug it into a modeling tool and see what size system would PG&E recommend. And that's a step from a utility company that I think is really powerful, and I'm really happy that they provide those resources. But in a nutshell, as a homeowner, if you're going to be investing a good amount of funds into having your own energy system, solar panels, batteries, etc., you really have to understand what you're buying. And to do that, you need to understand how you're currently using your power. And to a full extent that when somebody tells you you need a 15 kilowatt hour battery bank, you're going to know exactly what that means.
Exactly. And that doesn't mean it's all usable energy, usable kilowatt hours. How many kilowatt hours are you consuming during that period of time, or in that 24-hour period in a day where you're needing to offset, self-consume? How much do you want to send back? It really depends on your specific need. And that's what I was trying to get at earlier in regards to customization. It really is about customization. There is no such thing as a one size fits all. And what you're talking about is self-education. That's really what homeowners need to do. You provide a lot of resources as well for education with your company at EcoDirect. I love how education and teaching folks, empowering them is really at the center of what you're doing, because everything around that, they'll make the right decisions, and you have those opportunities available for them to make those decisions themselves. It's really all about freedom, but informed freedom, right, Renee?
It is, and you can kind of look at it as like when you are looking at, if you're in the market for a new car, you're going to be taking a look at all the cars that you like, and you're going to be doing some research on them. At least most people will. And a car, it's not an inexpensive purchase, and neither is a PV system. And so really diving into that with that same level of intent to understand is going to put you levels ahead. So you know what you're buying, you trust who's going to be installing it, and you trust what they say because you've then backed it up on your own.
Excellent. Renee Donaldson, CEO, EcoDirect, ecodirect.com. Find out more. Renee, thank you so much for being on the program today. You work with Vicki Wallace and Lori Poliso here at Solagent, don't you?
I do. EcoDirect has been working with Solagent since they were DC Power. And so it's been a really long time. It's one of our strongest distribution partnerships that we value. And Solagent has you have one of the best resources, I'd say, especially you yourself, Josh. You're clearly a wealth of knowledge on the solar and storage subject. So it's great to have partners. And within our industry and overall, we have such a large market that we don't have to necessarily compete with everyone. It's really working together to get for that common goal: energy independence, renewable energy with storage. Let's save some people some money, and let's save some businesses, more importantly, some money too. But Solagent is wonderful. Vicki and Lori, both very knowledgeable. I've known Vicki for probably going on 12 plus years at this point.
I'm so thankful for those two. Oh my gosh. Day doesn't go by that I don't have a communication with one of them, and it just enlightens me all the time. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. When I got into this business, it was very male dominated, and just to see all of these women in leadership positions in this renewable energy world that we're in, and just, it's so awesome. I don't have a daughter, but listeners who are tuning in, like I mentioned earlier, daughters and granddaughters that are driving around, and you're captive to what your parents or grandparents are listening to right now. But I want you to hear this. We're looking for leaders. We're looking for engineers. We're looking for entrepreneurs. We're looking for scientists, mathematicians. This is not just a boys only club. It's open, and we want you to participate. And you're such a great example of that. And Vicki and Lori and other trailblazers in our business, we're so blessed. And And I am thankful to be partnered with you and my teammates as well who were in that realm. So thank you so much. Appreciate all the hard work that you do. At EcoDirect, your CEO started off as a salesperson and became CEO. I mean, listeners, that's the American dream right there. That is phenomenal. You must be proud of that. That's phenomenal.
I am, and it took a lot of hard work, but it's a passion of mine as well. So, energy and having it be independent, you're saving fuel money. You also have the ability to have power anywhere. So it doesn't matter that there's no utility connection. You can, if you can think it, generally you can build it, and as long as the finances are there, it makes it a reality. And so, for the first, I remember 5-6 years, just almost every evening, just diving in deep and, reading, initially, how do you size Sunny Islands? How do you size Fronius? What does a microinverter do? and so I think when you have that type of passion and you really want to know and understand it, you're going to keep after it until you do. And even now, I take classes all the time on, different certifications. There's new energy storage systems that come to market. And I think having, working with people that have a really strong fundamental understanding of these systems, as well as, like yourself, Josh, in 2006, that's a pioneer, for sure in this industry. And it just gives you the ability to really have an appreciation for where we are now. And, I know a lot of people that are very similar to myself, where it's, just can't get enough of it and want to know all that there is about it. And that's inevitably where I ended up being. And I became our general manager first. And then after doing that for about a year or so, I did move into our CEO role, which has been for the past 7, almost 8 years, and never a dull moment. I will say that.
That's what it takes, folks. The studying, the passion. You got to have the passion for it. You're not going to put in the time and the effort if you don't have a passion for it. But if you have a passion for creating a world that is beyond emissions, helping homeowners and families and businesses save money, if you have a passion for the business, oh, wow, you're not working a day in your life if that's the case. And that's absolutely true. But it takes that work. I still remember in the very beginning, with the calculator on my couch on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, after watching YouTube channel after YouTube channel and all the different components of an off-grid system. My only goal in the beginning was like, all right, I'm working at a battery distributor and my job is to sell batteries. That was my actual job. But I'm like, well, if I'm going to sell this, I've got to learn it and I've got to know it, because my customers don't know and they're relying on me to know. So I can't just be a salesperson who has stuff available at a warehouse. Anybody can do that. I have to set myself apart. I have to learn. Okay, so what am I going to do? So sitting there on the weekends, just like you, Renee. Renee Donaldson, CEO, EcoDirect, here with us today at the Beyond Emissions podcast. Just like you, Renee, sitting there with my calculator doing fake load evaluations on my house. And my wife is like, it's Sunday. What are you doing? I'm like, I can't help it. I'm a nerd and I love it. It's amazing when it takes a hold of you, right? It's just something that it's not work anymore. I love doing it. It sounds like that's where you dived into as well.
Oh, 100%. And, having a really strong sales background, it's exactly right. If you sell more when you know what you're selling, and, you build relationships when people trust you. And so if you know what you're selling and you can speak about it in an educated fashion and you're committed to finding solutions, people are really drawn to that and inevitably want to work with you on that. So it was a natural progression, I would say, because at the end, we wanted to sell, we sell systems. And, the homeowner residential market is our bread and butter. And when we were growing our sales team, oddly enough, our sales team, none of them had a background in solar storage before they joined the team. And the learning curve is longer, but in my opinion, it was so different than selling a Sunrun, Solar City, Tesla type of sales process that they demonstrated the keen interest and wanted to understand the technology that now they're extremely knowledgeable, and they know about these various systems. And internally we do probably 2 to 3 trainings a week on various storage systems that we carry and offer, and it makes a huge difference. And so I've never been of the opinion that you have to have a lot of background that has already been established to get into solar or storage, for that matter. If you have the desire and the will to do it, then just jump right in. The water is nice here. It's a little tumultuous sometimes with the solar coaster, as we call it, but it's certainly not dull, and it's definitely something that you can attain.
I'll jump in. Cannonball!
Oftentimes that's what it feels like.
Oh, I love it. Renee Donaldson, CEO, EcoDirect, with us on the Beyond Emissions podcast. And by the way, if you want to reach out to EcoDirect, 888-899-35, hold on, I need my glasses, 3509. There you go, 888-899-3509. I'm getting older, Renee. I need my glasses.
It happens to the best of us.
Actually, I need to do what my wife keeps telling me. Go and make an appointment. I've got these glasses from Costco. They're not really glasses. Anyway, it happens. It happens, especially when you're watching nonstop training videos and trying. We really do have that passion in this business. Folks, you can get this passion as well. It really just take the first step. Watch a video. Go to the Solagent YouTube channel. We have tons of training videos there on all sorts of different energy storage options, how to sell storage, especially under NEM 3 in California. I think you touched on something a moment ago that I'd like to talk about, Renee. Selling storage, different than just selling grid tie solar. It's different. There are some other caveats. What would you recommend for folks getting into the business, brand new, maybe they've sold some PV array and that's it? I always say you can't just go and do a 30-minute class, boom, now you're a storage person. You've really got to put in some effort and learn some things. What are your thoughts as far as brand new, done some PV sales, brand new to storage, and folks are thinking about adding that on now, especially in California where it's a have to. Some thoughts, recommendations. What do you think?
So for us, we use solar. We go to Solar Energy International. So a lot of folks may have heard about them before, but they're based out of Colorado, and they offer both hands-on and online classes. So for us, most everyone in our company, whether they work in sales or not, have taken PV 101. So our customer service through our warehousing and logistics have taken that initial course, which is kind of the gold standard in solar, just as far as a fundamental, here's some basic system sizing and design considerations for grid tie systems. And then they do offer additional courses that focus around battery storage. They have other ones that go to microgrids. And so my recommendation would be to take a look at coursework offered by someone like Solar Energy International. It's SEI.org. And the reason I would suggest to start there is because they cover the whole gamut of system designs. And it's not specific to a particular product, because once you understand fundamentally how the system works and operates and some of the different options that are available, then you can take a look at the manufacturers and compare them and see, okay, this particular system would be great in a backup system application where there's some pretty high draw well pumps that are going to need to be running. Or this is a home that has pretty light consumption overall, but they want to have a battery storage system for their time of use offset or for self-consumption. And it's an easier and better way to have that kind of the foundation laid, so to speak, than just jumping in with the manufacturers. But I'd say it's two parts, because then once you take the certification through Solar Energy International, you then go to the manufacturers and take their courses. A lot of them aren't very long. Most of them are free. And so they're putting the information out there, wanting people to take advantage of that educational content. And for any manufacturer out there, for the most part, they either have a certification program direct for their system or supporting documentation that, again, usually is available at no cost. And you could be a homeowner and take that course, or you could be an installer and take that course.
SEI. Check it out, folks. It's a great resource available online, and absolutely, it's not closed off to just professionals. Homeowners as well. Welcome. Educate yourselves. Former CEO, president, founder of Battery Systems, now Continental, where I got my start in the battery business. They were the largest battery distributor in North America. His name is Brad Strillman. He was a national champion, played for the USC Trojans in football back in the late 70s. His dad, Dead Cell Harry, started Battery Systems back in 1955. And Brad invested a lot in us in education. There wasn't a week or a day that didn't go by where we didn't have some form of education. So, and that sounds like a lot. What you're doing is 3 keys to success: or have a plan, always be looking for new opportunities, and never stop learning. The third one, never stop learning. I think that's probably the most important one. I mean, notwithstanding having a plan and always looking for opportunities, definitely that does not negate those first 2. But the third one, never stop learning. What a huge thing to really just absorb into your mindset, into your being and your ethos, right?
Well, it's almost it's a necessary component, especially as everything continues to change. The code requirements change, the different AHJs, how they want to see things written out, and really their interpretation of the code and what that means. And also, I should say that it's solarenergy.org. I said it was SEI.org, but it's solarenergy.org is where you'd want to go. But yeah, it can be a lot to keep on top of all of it. So, reaching out to your AHJ when you have questions, or reaching out to somebody like Solagen or even EcoDirect to ask them these questions, it's true, there's really no such thing as a dumb question, especially when it comes to PV installations and with batteries. Better to ask that question and know that you're doing it right than to go through all the time and effort to think that you know exactly what you're doing, and then find out that you have to go back and make some adjustments. So it saves time and energy across the board.
Now, you cut your teeth like me in off-grid. That was the beginning. It was a lot of off-grid, and I had to learn the same as you. It's important, folks, if you're listening right now and you've got off-grid customers, they're out there. Off-grid customers, they got a cabin, a home that they want to have off the grid. Maybe there's a lodge up in Alaska. It's totally off grid, but whatever it might be, whatever your situation is, you want to just have a completely off grid system. Even if it's your RV, that's a little off grid system. At the end of the day, it's all about energy in versus energy out, accounting for all of the different, motor loads and startup surges, and all of the inrush currents of everything. It all matters. It all adds up, and you have to build it accordingly, because if you don't have enough energy when those loads come on because you built it for the bare minimum, just trying to hope that an average would work out, it doesn't. You've got to have a load evaluation, name and wattage of every load, how many hours or minutes each of those loads might run on a max use day. But if you have that information, off-grid sizing, Renee, it's energy in versus energy out. It's all about the math, right?
It is. That is one of the most critical elements for off-grid system sizing is the loads. The other one is the location, because some areas don't get as much sun as we do in Carlsbad, California, where we're based out of. And if you're sizing a system for somebody in Massachusetts, for a backup system or a completely off-grid site, then you do have to, you're going to need more solar, more than likely, in addition to some other components. But it's really the load and location, I'd say, are the two absolutely mandatory elements. And it's not the averages, like you said, Josh, because that's for grid-tie systems, that's what made it really easy, is that you took the total annual consumption throughout the year and then the total estimated annual production from your system. And if you were a little bit under or a little bit over, it really wasn't a huge, it didn't make a big difference, right? So you produced a little bit extra, okay. Or maybe you used a little bit extra from the utility grid one year versus the next. And most people understood that, some years you get a lot more rain than others. And so having that utility connection there made it a lot easier to size these systems so quickly. And with battery systems, that's when you're really taking more into account of, well, what's actually being connected to the system? And, how often are you using it? Is it year-round for this off-grid cabin, or is it mostly in the summertime or in the fall, when you're out there? So it's a lot of fun. I love sizing off-grid properties. It's enjoyable.
Me too. I mean, literally. Like, okay, so how many lights do you have? How many watts are they each? Okay, your fridge is 2,000 watts. Wait a second. How old is your fridge? It's from the 70s. It's older than I am. Wait a minute here. Hold on. It always in off-grid. Start on the efficiency side. My mentor who taught me what a kilowatt hour is, Brooke Hanner from Offline Solar Electric, he taught me it's all about the efficiency side first. It's a lot cheaper to go down and buy a brand new fridge that has a third of the energy consumption, as opposed to keeping your old inefficient fridge and spending more on batteries and solar, et cetera, right? Efficiency, right?
It is, and that's what makes really the difference too. Is it's not that people can't, learn to do these systems completely on their own. It's just that it's nice to have some support when you're doing that. So, for your mentor, that helps you take into account these other elements that are kind of the devil's in the details, so to speak. So, the efficiency of that refrigerator, keeping it with the 70s version would have consumed so much more power than just upgrading it, to something that is significantly more efficient. For me, Rich Griswold of Amoresco, I remember him teaching me all about charge controller sizing, battery state of charge, step the discharge, and really having somebody that is very knowledgeable about these systems just to even bounce some ideas back and forth with is really nice. You don't have to do it on your own. There's more often than not, people are very happy and willing to help, especially if you're willing to put in the time and effort to truly understand it.
Yeah. Simply saying, okay, batteries, how much? No, there's going to be some questions. You don't walk into you've probably seen some of my videos. I have another video that I put out called The Battery Professor, where I wear a energy storage doctor, battery doctor. I went down to the medical supply store and I bought a white doctor outfit, and I got a stethoscope and what I do, and I'm not just trying to be a weird nerd. I do it for a reason. I teach people it's about a mindset. You have to be like a doctor. You don't just walk in and go, all right, nice to see you, doc. Okay, where's my medicine? No, you have to go through the test. You have to take a blood test. You have to do your weight. You might have to, ask or answer some questions the doctor may ask. And, with all of that information, in other words, what is that discovery, that triage, that before the diagnosis comes and the prescription happens, what is that period, if I'm using this metaphor properly and sliding it over to our business for off-grid, or period in our business, grid tie, off grid, you name it. It's really all about, if you're selling batteries, you have to do it like a doctor without bias. It's the load evaluation. It's the math. It's the energy in versus energy out. It's the customer's goals. And then based on all of that information, you want to have on that unbiased energy storage battery doctor outfit, if you will, that mindset. And that's why I have it, not just because I want to be a nerd or whatever, but I'm funny looking at it, and hopefully that helps people laugh and learn a little more from it. But my ultimate goal, Renee, is that you see that doctor outfit and you think to yourself, when I'm selling storage, because that's what it's for. It's, if you're interested in learning how to sell storage, I want you to know how to do it properly. Don't go around and just hand out prescriptions like that bad doctor. You want to go through the process of a needs analysis, finding out what their goals are, energy in versus energy out, do a load evaluation, etc. Right, Renee?
It is, and I love the jacket, by the way. I just have to say, and and most of us that work in our industry and truly love it are definitely nerdy, and I am one of them as well. So, but yeah, I love that, and you should have fun. It's having fun while you work, and that's why it's not work. It's our passion, it's our career, it's our livelihoods, and really we want to be able to facilitate the transition to clean energy, and it should be affordable for everyone. And energy equality is real, and it's something that we need to have continued support for, and from CALSA and homeowners and solar enthusiasts alike. But yes, it's to answer your question, it's paramount that a load calculation is completed every time. For an off-grid system, you can't. You're basically at step one until that happens. There's really no point in backwards engineering a system like that when you don't have any idea of what you're actually powering.
And whole home backup. That's basically off-grid. If a customer's expecting that air conditioner is going to work, they think they have whole home backup, but it was sized based on an average of an annual usage. It's going to die in a few hours because kilowatt hour usage in August or July might be double what that average is, right?
That's correct, and really that doesn't take into account the surge rating for some of these appliances. When it's always connected, you're looking at your utility bill as your total kilowatt hour consumption for that period of time, or that day, or that month, or even annually, and it's not actually telling you, okay, you have an 3-ton AC, and it draws 4,500 watts, but then it has a surge, and that's twice the draw or 3 times the draw. And not that most people are backing up AC units, but there are some instances if you're in a really hot environment. We see that mostly like in the desert and in like Arizona, but people do want to back up their AC units as part of their backup system. Not as common for Southern California, but just as an example that that information would not be necessarily readily available through your bill. It's something that you actually have to look at, like, here's my critical load panel, or here's my main service panel, and how am I going to make sure that all the loads that I need to be powered on in the event of an outage stay on, and how many hours is this battery system going to last if I run it in this fashion. And so really taking the time to understand what you have connected, what you want to have connected, and then having realistic expectations, because sometimes it may not be in the cards to connect that AC power. Maybe you'd like to, but in reality, that's not something that's going to make it fiscally sound, or you're not going to get the ROI that you need by doing something like that.
And we've all had customers, and I mean this in the best way, but these conversations that go like this. Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me know that. So how many is it? What is it? Just two of these Enphase 5Ps, or just a couple of the Franklins, right? And I should be good to go. I don't know yet. Hold on, let me get my crystal ball out. No, I mean, we're not being rude. We're being playful about it right now. But the truth is, It's energy in versus energy out. That includes all of the inrush current, those motor loads, everything that you want to run, and the duration that you want to run it for. We need to know all of that, and that may require some back and forth. You can't just do the instantaneous quotes like you used to for PV. You've got to put in the extra time. But I'm telling you, it's worth it because you're going to size the customer with the correct stuff that's actually going to work when they need it. They're going to be happy. They're going to say great things about your company. You're going to get referrals. You're going to make more money than you ever made before by doing it the right way. Right, Renee?
It's true. And, it's more that a conversation is required, more so than before. And it's not to say that nobody was, talking with their customers or that they didn't necessarily care as much, but it just didn't require that level of in-depth analysis to their loads. It was really simple. How much power do you use per year? Okay, let's see what we can do to offset that by 70, 80, 90% if somebody wanted. And now it's similar in a way that you can still size a system for them. It might take a little bit more time because batteries are new and which one is going to be the best fit depending on where it's physically going, inside or outside, and things of that nature. But it's having a conversation with the customer. How do you plan on using the system? What do you need it to do? And what would you like it to do? And let's see if we can get somewhere in the middle for you.
I love it. A conversation. I love it. And that's what we're having. A conversation. That's it.
And usually it's pretty enjoyable, right? This one certainly is. And so if you're doing that with the homeowner, then you're also developing a relationship with them. To your point, Josh, on getting referrals, helping them with their other friends or family, or even their coworkers. If they have such a good experience and you demonstrate that you know what you're doing, you do good work, then they're going to want to refer other people over to you. So it's worth the time, and generally it takes less if you invest it so much with someone. Then you get to know and understand it and implement those solutions faster and easier, while still making sure that you take all of those considerations into account.
That's what I'm talking about. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Spike the ball in the end zone right now, Renee. I love it. That's awesome.
It's a solid score for BESS across the board, and it really there are a lot of solutions out there. And from my perspective, there's different options for a range of budgets and applications and how the system wants to go in. So, not every battery is going to be so expensive that it prices itself out. And I think that's something that we hear a lot is, oh, I heard batteries are expensive. And, it's just a lot of, it's not that they're inexpensive, but what we're doing now with our traditional and just current residential rooftop systems is reducing the size of the PV system by a little bit. Sometimes, depending on the exact application, you could reduce the PV system size by about 30%. And the reason that you can do that is that you're not so interested in pushing like a lot of excess power back to the utility grid. You're recharging your batteries, and it doesn't have to necessarily cover 100% of your usage. You're more concerned with it covering your time of use as a generalized statement.
It's not one size fits all, but when you have that conversation, customers, listeners, when you have that conversation, then you can uncover that, maybe we don't need that much PV. Maybe we can move this around to meet your actual needs and save you on those upfront costs as well. There is a possibility to, have your cake and eat it too, as they say. I love it. We're at the end of the broadcast. I thank you so much for your passion in this business, your leadership in this business, and your friendship in this business. Friends of Sologent and a friend of mine, Renee Donaldson, CEO of EcoDirect. Go to ecodirect.com to find out more. And I highlighted it. Hold on. 1-888-889-3509. No, whoa, hold on. Gosh, I really am blind. Oh, come on, Joshua. Yeah, 888-899-3509. My wife is going to kill me. I got to make that appointment at the eye doctor, Renee. Awesome. Tell our listeners real quick a little bit how they could get in touch with you there at EcoDirect. And again, thank you so much for your leadership in this business.
Well, and thank you, Josh. It's so great to know you, and big fan of Sologen as well. And I love being engaged with people like yourself who really do care so much and are passionate as well. And this was a very enjoyable experience, and it went by fast too. So thank you again for having me on. For those of you who'd like to learn more about EcoDirect, the best way really is to go to our website. So if you go to ecodirect.com, and that's just ecodirect.com, you'll be able to find a lot of different information specific to sizing or product availability and really what's out there. And it's a good spot, a good place to start, especially when you're not really sure of what it is that you're looking for. So you can get some inspiration and then springboard from there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Renee Donaldson, CEO, EcoDirect. Folks, go there, say hi, ecodirect.com. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And hang on the line for engineers. ecodirect.com. Fantastic show today. Amazing. God, I love working with her in this industry. People like that make you want to get out there and do it over and over and over again. It's just such a passion that drives folks like Renee Donaldson there, and just want to mirror that in my own career in this business. That's what we're all doing together. And if you have a passion about something, you're never working a day in your life. You can really make a big difference in this world for our kids and our grandkids, leaving a better future for them. A mission that we have of creating this emissions-free future, a world that is beyond emissions. I'm Josh Brum, Energy Storage Manager here at Sologen. Find out more, click on the link below. Also as well available at Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and the Sologen YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment as well. Be a part of the conversation about how we're creating this world that is beyond emissions. Thanks for tuning in. We're on our way, Sologen, making our way through this amazing world with all these amazing partners to be the number one clean energy provider in the world. That is an ultimate goal. We want to make sure that we are working with all of you to help create this world that is beyond emissions. It's not out of reach. It's right there. And we're doing it together, step by step, battery at a time, one battery at a time, one rooftop at a time, one home at a time. I'm looking forward to continuing this mission with you. So stay tuned for more new episodes right here of the Beyond Emissions podcast, brought to you by Sologen, the largest pure play solar distributors in the Americas.
We at Sologen are incredibly excited to announce our partnership with GivePower. Well, we wouldn't be here today talking to you about GivePower if it wasn't for our partners, LoanPal. They've been with GivePower since the beginning. Their contribution has given water and light to countless people across the globe. We are truly inspired by LoanPal's dedication to the cause. Something LoanPal said really strikes a chord regarding GivePower, that this is something that's more than money. It's what makes making money more worthwhile. In a lot of ways, that's synonymous with what we're doing here at Sologen.
Here's how you can help.
What we've decided to do is compound LoanPal's contribution by donating to GivePower on every order paid via our direct pay program through LoanPal. That's right. Every time your company uses your LoanPal portal to pay Sologen for material, 5 people get clean drinking water for a full year.
Together we're stronger.
Together, we can choose to be extraordinary by giving to people who live outside our reach. To us, this means a lot.
Sologen's purpose meets GivePower's mission. Join the impact. Sologen, Solar Engine. SolarEngineSolutions.com. Go there to find out more.